Okay, so today we are going to make a pygmy hippo, and I've just got a bunch of pictures from Google Images up, so I have some reference to look at. I'm going to make a little pygmy hippo as a basis for a dragon. And I'm just going to go through my process and then make a cute little critter, because I'm not going to lie, baby pygmy hippos are quite possibly the most adorable thing on the planet. Yeah, let's see how it goes. Make sure Twitch caught on to everything. No. Okay. So I found the proportions of these little guys, and they are just delightful little butterballs. So let's see if I can find one that would make a good basis. Oh, there's one standing. Okay, we'll use that. Got a pencil. Let's see, there's the one I like. Yep, that's good. I think I made the head too small. There we go. Everything is about really rough shapes. If your shapes aren't good, if proportions aren't good, the rest of it just won't look right. And we'll give him little horns. Maybe a very small white tail. Go. See, eye area. I'm trying to keep this cute, so it's going to be pretty round. Little short beak. No, I'm not going to indent the beak. There we go. See, maybe this little guy actually has ears underneath his horns. Not all do, but hey, this guy seems like he needs it. Let's see. A little bit of shadow in there for shape. And this is just my rough one. I'll go back and make it look a little better. Let's see. So, their foot back there. I'll sometimes draw the hip joint even if I don't really need it, just because it does make it easier. Like there's where the shoulder blade would be, that's where that hip joint would be. It makes it easier to get the angle of the legs just right. It gives it a little bit more sense of believability. And I'm not like, I think this leg needs to be a little bit more ridiculously chubby before it comes in. Ooh, I drew on my background. That was very naughty of me. I made a mistake. Let's fix that problem right now. There we go. Move that underneath, and we're back in business. tried to erase and erase that gray with it, which makes sense if I'm drawing on top of the gray, but I didn't necessarily want to do that. We want this little belly to come down at an angle because, oh, that's cute. Alright. Let's see, does this guy need wings? Does he need wings? You know, I think something is telling me he needs little wings that don't do much. They're more for display. Okay. Make a new layer. We're going to make this one much smaller. I'm going to zoom in a bit. Tighten up my pencil. Let's pick a darker color. Probably would help if it was on the right layer, huh? A little bit of an eyelid. Let's give him a little bit more of a bony beak here. Okay. He's got these little horns that come up. I'm going to widen them out a bit, I think, and dull the edges. Just because, well, it feels right. Here's the great thing about drawing something that technically doesn't exist, is you have a lot more room to say, well, it felt right to do that. As opposed to you know, well, it had to be that way or else it wouldn't work. Let's see, he's going to have some little folds here. Go back. I'll give him just some really small claws. He's turning out a bit more hippo than dragon, but that's okay. I haven't done an animal conversion in a while, so. You notice I took a little bit of trouble to fix the angle of that toe. If it's up too high, it was splatting his feet a bit much for my liking. And plus it would kind of obscure this foot, which needs to be in there. Let's see, what can we do to make this more dragony? Don't really want to add any spikes. You know what? We're going to give him some little foot pad scales here so it looks like if he does spend a lot of time in a wet, slippery place like rocks on a river, he's got something to grip with. You know, I'm kind of liking that idea. Maybe he's got more of those big scales. No one saw that line. More of those big scales, and they cover his whole little belly. That sounds good. Leg in there. Quick tip that I learned from one of my very smart art teachers: if you ever have trouble making a line, exhale while you're making it. It'll make your hand relax, your brain will stop overthinking it, and you will just draw a line. This is from a class where we were doing stuff with paint, so you couldn't really afford a mistake, you know, if that happened, you know, you were quite literally sunk. I think I made his feet a little uneven. Oh well, it's a quick sketch. Let's put a bit more shadow on this back leg when we get to it. Alright, let's see, and then we need some scales. Keep that nice and defined. You go too far with a line, you can always erase it, but going back and trying to add it afterwards, ugh, that is the biggest nightmare. Bumped my stylus. Silly me. May not be able to resolve that issue. Let's back up. Okay, so let me think. If the tail's here, and I have this going on. Yeah, I'm trying to make it look like it's turning, and I'm not doing it right. I'm going to turn off that other layer for a second so I can see my lines. There we go. Erase, 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 erase. Oh, that line ran away from us. There we go. Got it back so. This is the one tricky thing about scales, is if you get that outside edge wrong, then it's pretty obvious. I'm not 100% happy with that, but this is just for practice. And there's nothing wrong with a little bit of practice every now and again. I've been a little out of shape with what I do, just getting caught up in life and whatnot. Which is where I was yesterday, but that's okay. Let's see. Let's have the wing in the back here. I just have a few lines. Let's hide all this. A few lines that need to go, because they are confusing. look at, and that's the last thing I want to do. There we go. Alright, so now if we zoom out, take a look. Alright, now let's see. What else does this little guy need? What does he need? Oh, no. He needs some little traction scales down here on his feet. Let's see, that's the back leg, but that line isn't clean enough. It's going to cause issues. Let's see. Yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with this one. So let's go ahead and make a color layer. Actually, I need to leave my ink color in case I come back to it. And I think he needs to be blue-green. That feels about right for him. Oh man, that is a little too vibrant. There we go. It's too bright. When I go back and I try to add highlights and things, they'll get overpowered by the base color that's already there. We don't want that. That would be very, very bad. Try not to color over his eyes. The scales I'm a little less worried about, but it happens. There we go. So this one, I did end up copying the hippo anatomy pretty close. If I were actually going to sit down and design or come up with a lot more ideas for a hippo-themed dragon, what I would really do is really study the hippo, draw it a whole bunch, just get really, really familiar with the anatomy. This one, I won't lie, I'm going off of a picture that I believe was originally published by, let's see, I believe it's a zoo. Let's see. This one is from someone's blog. It's not saying where they got the picture from originally, but based on the picture in the background, I believe it's a zoo elsewhere announcing the birth of a little hippo. Okay, have we missed anything? I don't think so. Now these little underscales, they need to be a little yellowish. That might be a bit bright. I mean, I can always tone it down later, but There's not much on him that's going to have this color. Probably should gray it out a bit, but it's okay. Oh. His little horns colored in. Now if you're doing something really complicated, like let's say a character in a costume or a figure that's just got a lot going on, you could break up your colors into separate layers in Photoshop. I'm not going to, because A, this is a quick sketch, and B, he doesn't have too much going on color-wise. He's got his little base color, he's got a little undercolor. I'm not particularly concerned. I think this webbing needs to be a bit more orangey. It's you know, I'm not convinced it's going to be that color. I think because it's skin, I'm going to make this a lighter color, because technically it would be the same color as his scales, right? It's just skin stretched to a fine membrane. You look at a bat wing, you know, the bat wing isn't a huge difference color. That would be weird. That would be really weird. Okay, so we've got that. I'm going to come back and do his eyes later. This isn't going to be the cleanest, but sketches are sketches. They're not finished pieces. Okay, so we've made that. Now we need some shadow. And there's two ways we can do this. One is to let Photoshop cheat for us. And if I tell Photoshop I want this a nasty purpley color, and people go, why? Why would you do that? And I'm having Photoshop, if you hold down Option and you click in between two layers, this layer is now linked. So if I color, you will notice it will only color where I have colored on the layer underneath. So if you're like me and you're a bit messy, I'm going to change my opacity here. Let's change this to 30. If I have it at 30, I can build up my shadows a little neater, less need for blending when I'm done. Make that really small. But this trick right here, that is a huge, I can't even tell you, time saver. I did start learning on Photoshop 4, not CS4, 4. You had one undo. Layers did not limit very well. It was pretty bad. It was really, really pretty bad. So thank you, Adobe, for addressing that particular problem and being awesome friends like that, and fixing that particular issue. So I'm having the light come from this corner. And in case you're going, you know, those shadows look absolutely awful, and I agree, right now they do. Art has to go through a phase where it looks really ugly. If you ever want proof of this, look up old master paintings that were left unfinished for whatever reason. Either the artist passed away or their employer ceased to pay them, so they stopped whatever they were doing. And those are some of my personal favorites. And someone is commenting on my voice. Yes, you're very funny. There. Now I'm going to be all self-conscious and not talk. Yeah. Okay, so we've got some shadows in here. And now for the magic of Photoshop wizardry. Oh my goodness, now it matches. If you change your layer to multiply, that solves everything. And if you made your shadows too dark, change it. And that is why Photoshop makes life so much easier, because I don't have to sit. I mean, I could sit here and guess colors. I really don't want to. It just, for this, not necessary. Other things, yes, very necessary. But for that, the nice thing is, as long as I keep my purple, I can go back and add these little foot shadows I missed. Naughty me. There we go. Some days the shadows are chunky, some days they need a little smoothing out. I know a lot of artists who leave theirs rough. I'm trying to work on that. I'm just go. Keep hitting the wrong button. Okay, so shadows are in here. Life is happy. I missed a spot on his leg, and you'll notice if I color over an area that I missed before, the shadows that I colored over it will actually show up as if they were always there, which is why that trick is the best trick under the sun. Alright, now we need, and same trick as before, now we need highlights. And highlights, I'm not going to do a special blending layer. You can, but yeah, it makes things look dull. Slightly bigger. There we go. Should always have less highlights than shadows. If you have too much like that, it's starting to make my dragon look yellow. It doesn't actually look like a highlight. So I have to go back and change that, but that's doable. Let's see, okay. Let's try something different. We used yellow. What happens if we use a little bit of white blue. That's not bad, is it? Okay, let's do, I'm going to put this on the top. Let's give him a little eye, and since he's green, let's give him kind of a red-orange. Being very naughty and not zooming in on what I should be doing. There we go. Add a little darkness, and then a little bit of bright. Keep hitting the pen tool instead of shrink my brush tool. Easy mistake to make. The keys are literally right next to each other, but shouldn't be doing that. Okay, let's see. Back to our pencil. It's way too big. There we go. Brush until I press escape instead of return. There we go. Now go. Quick trip, as long as your highlights overlap part of the eye, it does make it look a lot rounder and a lot more believable, even though clearly this is a very fantastical little drawing. Okay, zoom out. Oh yes, much better. Okay. I think he just needs a little shadow. I'm going to put that on a layer underneath, and he should be good to go. It has to stand somewhere. It looks ridiculous. There we go. And that is the hippo dragon. So thank you all. If you have any questions, leave a message or however you're going to do it, and we'll go from there.